Reading through the Bible in 1 year, June 2nd, Deuteronomy 4, 1 through 40, Psalm 40 through 41, Isaiah 24 through 25, and Matthew 8. And now, O Israel, listen to the statutes and the rules that I am teaching you, and do them that you may live. Go in and take possession of the land that the Lord, the God of your fathers, is giving you. You shall not add to the word that I command you, nor take from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God that I command you. Lost my spot. Aha, there we go. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did at Baal Peor. For the Lord your God destroyed from among you all the men who followed the Baal of Peor. But you held fast to the Lord your God, and are all alive today. See, I have taught you statutes and rules, as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do them in the land that you are entering to take possession of it. Keep them and do them, for that will be your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the peoples. For who, when they hear all these statutes, will say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has a God so near to it as the Lord our God is to us, whenever we call upon him? And what great nation is there that has statutes and rules so righteous as all this law that I set out before you today? Only take care and keep your soul diligently, lest you forget the things that your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life, and make them known to your children and your children's children on the day that you stood before the Lord your God at Horeb. The Lord said to me, gather the people to me, that I may let them hear my words, so that they may learn to fear me all the days that they live on the earth, and that they may teach their children so. And you came near and stood at the foot of the mountain, while the mountain burned with fire to the heart of heaven, wrapped in darkness, cloud and gloom. Then the Lord spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of words, but saw no form. There was only a voice. And he declared to you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, that is, the 10 Commandments. And he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone, and the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and rules, that you might do them in the land that you are going over to possess. Therefore, watch yourselves very carefully, since you saw no form on the day that the Lord spoke to you at Horeb, and out of the midst of the fire. Beware lest you act corruptly by making a carved image for yourself in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any animal that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged bird that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, and the likeness of any fish that is in the water under the earth. Beware lest you raise your eyes to heaven when you see the sun and the moon and the stars and all the hosts of heaven. You be drawn away and bow down to them and serve them. Things that the Lord your God has allotted to all the peoples under heaven. Nope. Yep, okay, yeah, on the right spot. But the Lord has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people of his own inheritance, as you are this day. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me because of you, and he swore that I should not cross the Jordan, but that I should not enter the good land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance. For I must die in this land. I must not go over the Jordan. But you shall go over and take possession of that good land. Take care, lest you forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make a carved image, the form of anything that the Lord your God has forbidden you. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. There's a note here. There is jealousy and there is envy, right? And I've heard people, I've actually had quite a few people, mostly atheists, who say, well, if God is really jealous, then, he's just petty and blah, blah. No, he's a jealous God because we belong to him. Envy is when you see something someone else has and you want it. And that's what we understand today as jealousy. That's what's shown on television and in books and movies and all that. That is the petty envy that we see, right? But what we have here, excuse me, what we have here is a righteous, jealous response. Because God owns us, right? He created us. We are His creation. And what He wants is us to acknowledge Him as God. He's given us laws to follow so that we can be righteous and holy as He is holy. And He asks us to do these things. And when we don't do them, He gets jealous because we are turning our affections toward other things. Think about all the things that God has done for you. He takes care of your health, right? He makes sure that you can breathe, that your body still, absorbs oxygen and lets out carbon dioxide minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, right? He takes care of all of your inside parts so that they all continue to work together as they're supposed to. He continues to do all of these things for you. He takes care of your job, right? He keeps you in your job. There are myriad things that could go wrong every single day, yet all of them still lines up. So you still have a job so you can still work and still cover your bills and take care of your needs. And more than that, God also takes care of your needs. Think about all the times that you've had a random check show up out of the blue. Like, well, what the heck is this for? And then a week or so later, there comes a bill that you didn't plan for, didn't expect. And when it shows up, you have enough because of that check to pay for it. In our house, we've had that happen numerous times. We also have, God continuing to take care of our nation, keeping it whole, keeping people from basically revolting all the time. And as John Calvin says, when God wants to judge a nation, He sends them wicked rulers so that they will have revolt and they will have all sorts of internal battles. So we see that all of these things come to us from God. As we read yesterday, we should know the measure of our days. God is the one who controls all of that. He controls the moment that we're born, and He's the one who controls when we die. All of these things are owned by Him. So when all of these things are owned by Him, and we still refuse to listen to Him, remember Romans 1. Every step of that downward spiral, people refuse to acknowledge God. So what did He do? He gave them up to whatever they wanted. He did that time after time after time. In the end, all they wanted to do was rebel and to attack Him and to blame Him for all of their problems. That's what a jealous God is. He's one who deserves our affection, but we refuse to give it to Him. All right, let's go on. So when you father children and children's children and have grown old in the land, if you act corruptly by making a carved image in the form of anything, and by doing what is evil in the sight of the Lord your God so as to provoke Him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you today, that you will soon utterly perish from the land that you are going over the Jordan to possess. You will not live long in it, but will be utterly destroyed, and the Lord will scatter you among the peoples. And you will be left few in number among the nations where the Lord will drive you. And there you will serve gods of wood and stone, the work of human hands, that neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But from there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find Him. If you search for Him, if you search after Him with all your heart and with all your soul. When you are in tribulation, and all these things come upon you in the latter days, you will return to the Lord your God and obey His voice. Now, note how He's kind of turned it now. He started off by saying, if you do these things and if you fall away. Now He says, when you fall away, right? When this happens to you. For the Lord your God is a merciful God. He will not leave you or destroy you or forget the covenant with your fathers that he swore to them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before you, since the day that God created man on the earth, and ask from one end of heaven to the other, whether such a great thing has ever happened or was ever heard of. Did any people hear the voice of a God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as you have heard and still live? Or has any God ever attempted to go and take a nation for himself from the midst of another nation, by trials, by signs, by wonders, and by war, by a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and by great deeds of terror? All of which the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes. To you it was shown that you might know that the Lord is God, that there is no other God besides him. Out of heaven he let you hear his voice, that he might discipline you. And on earth he let you see his great fire, and you heard his words out of the midst of the fire. There are people today who say, oh yeah, sure, whatever. If God will just peel back heaven and, come down and say, hi there, I'm God, right? Then I'll believe in him. But until that happens, I won't. God literally appeared to all of these people, and they still rebelled against him. It's the heart of man that's the problem. I forgot where I was. We're going to start over at 36. Out of heaven he let you hear his voice, that he might discipline you. And on earth he let you see his great fire, and you heard his words out of the midst of the fire. Because he loved your fathers, and chose their offspring after them, and brought you out of Egypt with his own presence, by his great power, driving out before you nations greater and mightier than you, to bring you in, to give you their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. Know therefore today, and lay it to your heart, that the Lord is God in heaven above, and on the earth beneath. There is no other. Therefore, ye shall keep his statutes and his commandments, which I command you today, that it may go well with you and with your children after you, that it may prolong your days in the land that the Lord your God is giving you for all time. Now Psalm 40 through 41. My help and my deliverer. I patiently waited for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up out of the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Blessed is the man who makes the Lord his trust, who does not turn to the proud, to those who go astray after a lie. You have multiplied, O Lord my God, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us. None can compare with you. I will proclaim and tell of them, yet they are more than can be told. In sacrifice and offering you have not delighted, but you have given me an open ear. Burnt offering and sin offering you have not required. Then I said, behold, I have come. In the scroll of the book it is written of me, I delight to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. I have told the glad news of deliverance in the great congregation. Behold, I have not restrained my lips, as you know, O Lord. I have not hidden your deliverance within my heart. I have spoken of your faithfulness and your salvation. I have not concealed your steadfast love and your faithfulness from the great congregation. As for you, O Lord, you will not restrain your mercy from me. Your steadfast love and your faithfulness will ever preserve me. For evils have encompassed me beyond number. My iniquities have overtaken me, and I cannot see. They are more than the hairs of my head. My heart fails me. Be pleased, O Lord, to deliver me. O Lord, make haste to help me. Let those be put to shame and disappointed altogether who seek to snatch away my life. Let those be turned back and brought to dishonor who delight in my hurt. Let those be appalled because of their shame who say to me, aha, aha. but may all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. May those who love your salvation say continually, great is the Lord. As for me, I am poor and needy, but the Lord takes thought for me. You are my help and my deliverer. Do not delay, O my God. O Lord, be gracious to me. Blessed is the one who considers the poor. In the day of trouble, the Lord delivers him. The Lord protects him and keeps him alive, and he is called blessed in the land. You do not give him up to the will of his enemies. The Lord sustains him on his sickbed. In his illness, you restore him to full health. As for me, I said, O Lord, be gracious to me. Heal me, for I have sinned against you. My enemies will say of me in malice, when will he die and when will his name perish? And when one comes to see me, he utters empty words, while his heart gathers iniquity. When he goes out, he tells it abroad. All who hate me whisper together about me. They imagine the worst for me. They say, a deadly thing is poured out on him. He will not rise again from where he lies. Even my close friend, in whom I trusted, who ate my bread, has lifted his heel against me. But you, O Lord, be gracious to me, and raise me up that I may repay them. By this I know that you delight in me. My enemy will not shout in triumph over me, but you have upheld me because of my integrity, and set me in your presence forever. Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, from everlasting to everlasting. Amen and amen. Now Isaiah 24 through 25. Behold. Sorry. Oh, yeah, we're in 24. So this is judgment on the whole earth. He's been giving pronouncements against different lands in different areas. So now we're going through more. Behold, the Lord will empty the earth and make it desolate, and he will twist its surface and scatter its inhabitants. And it shall be, as with the people, so with the priest. As with the slave, so with his master. As with the maid, so with her mistress. As with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the creditor, so with the debtor. All that to say, everybody. The earth shall be utterly empty and utterly plundered. For the Lord has spoken this word. The earth mourns and withers. The world languishes and withers. The highest people of the earth languish. The earth lies defiled under its inhabitants, for they have transgressed the laws, violated the statutes, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore a curse devours the earth, and its inhabitants suffer for their guilt. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are scorched, and few men are left. The wine mourns, the vine languishes, all the merry-hearted sigh. The mirth of the tambourines is stilled. The noise of the jubilant has ceased. The mirth of the lyre is stilled. No more do they drink wine with singing. Strong drink is bitter to those who drink it. The wasted city is broken down. Every house is shut up so that none can enter. There's an outcry in the streets for lack of wine. All joy has grown dark. The gladness of the earth is banished. Desolation is left in the city. The gates are battered into ruins. For thus it shall be in the midst of the earth, among the nations, as when an olive tree is beaten, as at the gleaning, when the grape harvest is done. They lifted up their voices. They sing for joy. Over the majesty of the Lord they shout from the west. Therefore in the east, give glory to the Lord. In the coastlands of the sea, give glory to the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. From the ends of the earth, we hear songs of praise. Glory to the righteous one. But I say, I waste away. I waste away. Woe is me. For the traitors have betrayed. With betrayal, the traitors have betrayed. Terror in the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitants of the earth. He who flees at the sound of the terror shall fall into the pit, and he who climbs out of the pit shall be caught in the snare. For the windows of heaven are opened, and the foundations of the earth tremble. The earth is utterly broken. The earth is split apart. The earth is violently shaken. The earth staggers like a drunken man. It sways like a hut. Its transgression lies heavy upon it, and it falls. It will not rise again. On that day, the Lord will punish the host of heaven in heaven, and the kings of the earth on the earth. They will be gathered together as prisoners in a pit, and they will be shut up in a prison. And after many days they will be punished. Then the moon will be confounded and the sun ashamed, meaning that they won't be given their light. For the Lord of hosts reigns on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and his glory will be before his elders. Isaiah 25, God will swallow up death forever. O Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you. I will praise your name. For you have done wonderful things, plans formed of old, faithful and sure. For you have made the city a heap, the fortified city a ruin. The foreigner's palace is a city no more. It will never be be rebuilt. Therefore strong peoples will glorify you. The cities of ruthless nations will fear you. For you have been a stronghold to the poor, a stronghold to the needy in his distress, a shelter from the storm and a shade from the heat. For the breath of the ruthless is like a storm against a wall, like heat in a dry place. You subdue the noise of the foreigners. As heat by the shade of a cloud, so the song of the ruthless is put down. On this mountain the Lord of hosts will make for all the peoples a feast of rich food, a feast of well-aged wine, of rich food full of marrow, of aged wine well refined. He will swallow up on this mountain the covering that is cast over all peoples, the veil that is spread over all the nations. He will swallow up death forever, and the Lord God will wipe away tears from all faces. The reproach of his people he will take away from all the earth, for the Lord has spoken. Sound familiar, O Christian? We just read this in Revelation. This is the song of deliverance that we have through Christ. Remember? Because of what he has done on our behalf. It will be said on that day, behold, this is our God. We have waited for him that he might save us. This is the Lord. We have waited for him. Let us be glad and rejoice in his salvation. For the hand of the Lord will rest upon this mountain, and Moab shall be trampled down in his place, as straw is trampled down in a dunghill. And he will spread out his hands in the midst of it, as a swimmer spreads out his hands to swim. But the Lord will lay low his pompous pride, together with the skill of his hands. And the high fortifications of his walls he will bring down, lay low, and cast to the ground, to the dust. Now Matthew 8. Now this is at the end of the Sermon on the Mount. Like I said, we've been going through that for about the last 4 days. Starts in chapter 5 and it goes all the way through chapter 7. So when Jesus came down from the mountain, great crowds followed him. And behold, a leper came to him and knelt before him, saying, Lord, if you will, you can make me clean. It's called faith. And Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I will be clean. Now again, nobody touched lepers. Nobody did. In fact, it was forbidden in Exodus for anybody to touch a leper. You just don't do it. Was it Exodus? I don't think it was Exodus. I think it was Leviticus. Pretty sure it was Leviticus. Anyway, you don't touch lepers because that's how you contract the disease and move around. But Jesus, he's the God of health. He's the God who can heal anything. And so he healed him. Immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, see that you say nothing to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a proof to them. Now, this gift that he was offering them was so that he would be made ritually clean, because now he's been cleansed physically. He has to go and offer something at the temple and show himself to the priest so that the priest can verify that, yes, he really is clean from his leprosy. And he's going to shut him up for 7 days and check him out again, and then shut him up for 7 more days and check him one more time to make sure he's totally clean. And then after that, he can give a gift. Right? It's a mix between a sin offering and a thank offering. So a sin offering, because he hasn't given a sin offering for this whole time, because he can't be in the congregation of the people, right? And then a thank offering for God saving him from leprosy. When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came forward to him, appealing to him, "Lord, my servant is lying paralyzed at home, suffering terribly." And he said to him, "I will come and heal him." But the centurion replied, "Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof," because he was a Gentile. He understood this. "But only say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I too am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. And I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes. To another, 'Come,' and he comes. And to my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he marveled. And he said to those who followed, "Truly, I tell you, with no one in Israel have I found such faith as from this Gentile. I tell you, many will come from east and west and recline at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown into outer darkness." Who are the sons of the kingdom? They're the genetic descendants of Abraham, right? And who are these people coming from the east and the west? They're Gentiles, people who are, as far as they knew, forbidden from being part of God's family because they weren't genetic descendants from Abraham, right? In that place, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And to the centurion, Jesus said, "Go, let it be done for you as you have believed." And the servant was healed at that very moment. And when Jesus entered Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law lying sick with a fever. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she rose and began to serve them. That evening they brought to him many who were oppressed by demons, and he cast out spirits with a word and healed all who were sick. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet Isaiah. "He took our illnesses and bore our diseases." Now, when Jesus saw a crowd around him, he gave orders to go to the other side. And a scribe came up and said to him, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Again, remember that what they were expecting was this Messiah to come, which Jesus was like knocking down prophecies left and right, proving that it was him. But they had been taught by successive generations of priests that this Messiah to come was going to be a great political and military leader, right? He was going to come to take Israel, God's chosen people, and set them up at the pinnacle of all humanity. So then they would be greater than the Romans and the Greeks. That's what they had been told. This is the people who've been living oppressed for 400 years or more. And so that's what they were hoping for. So this guy is coming by saying, "I want to be with him in his kingdom. I want to be with him as he rules, so that I can rule over other people as well." And Jesus said to him, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." What he's saying is, I'm not going to have any of the things you expect me to have. I don't live in opulence. I don't live in luxury, right? I don't have any of these things that you think I'm going to have. And another of his disciples said to him, "Lord, let me first go and bury my father." And Jesus said to him, "Follow me, let the dead bury their own dead." When he got into the boat, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great storm on the sea, so that the boat was being swamped by the waves. But Jesus himself was asleep. And they went and woke him, saying, "Save us, Lord, we are perishing." And he said to them, "Why are you afraid, O you of little faith?" Remember, he had told them part of what was happening. He had already told them who he was. He was showing them who he was. And they're like, oh no, we're all going to die in the boat in the middle of the lake. Really? Have you not seen all the things I've been doing? Then he rose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. And the men marveled, which we can read as they were terrified, saying, what sort of man is this, that even the winds and sea obey him? Slowly starting to catch on here. And when he came to the other side, to the country of the Gadarenes, 2 demon-possessed men met him, coming out of the tombs, so fierce that none could pass that way. And behold, they cried out, what have you to do with us, O Son of God? They know who he is. Have you come here to torment us before the time? Now, a herd of many pigs was feeding at some distance from them. And the demons begged him, saying, if you cast us out, send us away into the herd of pigs. And he said to them, go. So they came out and went into the herd of pigs, and behold, the whole herd rushed down the steep bank and into the sea, and drowned in the waters. The herdsmen fled. And going into the city, they told everything, especially what had happened to the demon-possessed men. And behold, all the city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they begged him to leave their region. Why? Because they understood immediately that he represented God, and that terrified them. Behold, the word of the Lord.